This goes out to Lady Universe, who chose for me to be born during Pride Month, and she might have thought it was a joke, but I leaned into that joke, and guess what? I turned out a homo-romantic asexual. I am so excited to be making this video because I never make recommendation videos, and I thought to myself, listen, it's Pride Month, I've read a lot of queer books, and I wanted to tell you my absolute top favorites that are in all of the LGBTQIA+ category, and these are going to be books that maybe I have 5-star books or favorite books that have queer characters, but these are going to be books where I felt like the queer characters really meant something to the storyline, where them being queer really stood out to me and left an impact on me personally. So I have, I believe, 12 books to talk about today, or maybe 11. We'll have to see, but I'm super excited, and let's jump right in. We're going to start out with our Lord and Savior, Alice Oseman, who is honestly half this list because she's the Queen Supreme and she cannot be beat. Like, for queer literature, she is everything. This is Radio Silence, and we are following Frances, a bisexual, biracial British Ethiopian girl who is single-mindedly set on getting into this elite school because she believes that education and academia is the only thing that you should strive for because that's what school and society tells her. And she meets Aled, a demisexual creator of her favorite podcast. They become very, very close platonic friends. Like, their platonic relationship is so beautiful and so sweet, but unwittingly, Frances happens to reveal Aled's secrets on the internet and it goes viral. Oh my God, it's so sweet. Aled has an abusive family, he has severe depression, he has a lesbian sister, Karis, who Frances used to be in love with. Like, are you kidding me? There's layers, hello. There's also Daniel, a South Korean gay boy who has a very complicated relationship with Aled because he is demisexual and he doesn't know how to express it, and it's so beautiful. There is a big, big theme in this book of, like, the crush that on your mental health that academia has on you, and how it's okay not to want it, and you can do other things that don't involve going to university, and the acceptance of that, and the acceptance of who you are and who you could be, who you've been to other people. This is just such a quintessential coming of age for, like, a modernizing world, and a world that's coming to terms with mental health and spectrums of sexuality and spectrums of gender, and it is hyped for a reason. It really is. I would highly suggest listening to this. The same narrator that narrates this narrates all of Alice Oseman's books, I do believe, and she's absolutely phenomenal. I really think that the way that she narrates Aled in this book is like one of the best narrations of a character I've ever read, because I listened to it and then I bought the book immediately afterward and I read it physically, and physically reading Aled was just not the same experience as listening to her narrate him. And he's such a cupcake. I'm literally obsessed. The way that Alice Oseman talks about platonic friendships is just so magical, and I love her for it. And read this book. We all know it's coming, so let's just get it out of the way. One of my favorite books I've ever read, and the book that means the most to me out of anything I've ever read, is Loveless by Alice Oseman. Do you see these tabs? Oh my God, this is Own Voices, because this is an asexual, aromantic main character, and Alice Oseman is asexual. I believe she is also aromantic. This is about Georgia, who decides that university is going to be where she turns her life around. She's going to have a fresh start. She's finally going to have her first kiss. She's going to have her first relationship, and she's finally going to have sex. And when she goes out trying to make this happen, it basically becomes a comedy of errors, and she starts to think, what's wrong with her? Like, what's wrong with her? Why is love so easy for everyone else and so hard for her? She has a bisexual friend who is her roommate, who's very sex positive, and that also puts Georgia in kind of an uncomfortable position, even though this other character is really trying to help her. She has a lesbian best friend who has an on-page, very prominent gay love story in this book that's kind of rivals to lovers, and it's so good. Oh my God. Georgia has a very close-knit friendship of what Alice Oseman coins platonic magic, and I love that phrase so much. Like, that means so much to me because I myself am asexual, and reading this book was just such an experience. Like, she put into words things that I have experienced through my life that were just so hard to say, and I don't think I'd ever be able to write down. And this is a book that I think that if you know anyone who is asexual or aromantic and you want to learn more about them, someone you love, or if you yourself think you might be on the spectrum, I would highly recommend this. This is like the Bible for asexuality. I'm serious. And there's a lot of other characters in this book who are queer, trans, non-binary, all of these different things. Like she meets the whole spectrum, and everyone, like the acceptance and the inclusivity is just so beautiful, and the coming to terms with like, this is who you are. Like, this is who you are. Like, oh, it's so good. Like, oh my God. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. We're gonna move on. On a happier note, Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. The whole series, all of them are 5 stars. The 4th one just came out. I cannot wait to get it. I'm so excited. These are so hyped, and oh my God, for a reason. And they're on Webtoons. It's free. You can read it for free. But what I would do is I would promote Alice Oseman and buy her books. But if you can't read them on Webtoons, you have no excuse, darling. No excuse. This is gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. It's about Charlie, a high-strung, gay overthinker, and then we have Nick, a cheerful, soft-hearted rugby player that may or may not be bisexual, and they meet at an all-boys grammar school, and they become fast friends, but they fall even faster into something much more. Like, look at the covers of these real quick. Like, are you freaking kidding me? These are goddamn stunning, okay? It's a queer cupcake. Like, your face is going to hurt. You're going to be smiling so hard. Like, there's gay, bi, pansexual main characters. There is trans side characters. There's lesbian side characters. There is like any sexuality and gender that you can possibly think of is in this. There's non-binary. Also characters that are in other Alice Oseman novels make cameos in this, like Eled. My open heart is beating for him. I'm freaking obsessed. Like, it's so good. And then in the later novels, like in the 3rd, graphic novel, they get into eating disorders and mental health in a way that I feel is very well done, in my opinion. But like at the heart of this story is the sweetest gay love story that you're ever gonna read. It's just so sweet and it's so good. And if you haven't read it yet, what's wrong with you? Like, are you okay? Do you hate joy? Next, we have Salco Girls by Claire Legrand. This is very Stranger Things, except instead of 3 boys and 1 girl, it's 3 girls and 1 boy. So you're following 3 teenage girls as they set off against an insidious monster that is preying upon young women. It's literally like a group of latchkey kids versus the Upside Down. And it's so good. Okay, it's so good. And all the characters vary so wildly, and not only in personality, but also sexuality. Like, and you get all of their POVs, which is really interesting, especially because they're all different sexualities. Like, you have Marion, the newbie, she is bisexual. Yes. And then you have Val, the queen bee, who is a lesbian. And then you have Zoe, the pariah, who is Black, asexual, and biromantic. And she also has a very complicated relationship with her ex-boyfriend, Grayson, who I believe is either asexual or demisexual. It's not stated on page whether he is or not, but he openly discusses that he might be. And that's amazing. We love to see that. There's also a very well done queer sapphic relationship that is in this, and it's on page. It's YA and it's on page, and there's some steamy things, really good, and it is hands down my absolute favorite female YA relationship I have ever read. I really adored it. I think it was done very well. I really want to reread this at some point. Like, the female stuff was like, it was so complicated and gritty and sexy and kind of steamy, and it was like kind of enemies to lovers. Like, it was kind of like bullying to lovers. Like, okay, listen, we kind of have a type, okay? And it was kind of hot, and I kind of freaking love that. And it was all really good. I loved it. The female friendships in this book are stunning. I also think that something that you never see is there's a very amazing depiction of healthy masculinity of Grayson, who is the boy main character in this book. It's so good, and I really want to reread this, actually. Like, I think I might pick this back up in the fall and read it again. Of course, we have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Of course, I had to tell you about the book that made me laugh out loud, that made me cry, made me sob, made me punch my fist into the freaking air so many times, made me clap so hard. This made me scream to my best friend about how amazing it was until she agreed to pick it up. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. This is probably the book that's made me the happiest while I was reading it, the book that I've annotated in the most. I technically haven't tabbed it, but I wrote in every single page. I loved this. This book taught me a lot. So what we're doing is we're following Alex, the son of the President of the United States, and his longtime British nemesis, Prince Henry. Okay, Alex and Henry, they don't get along, okay? And after an altercation at a royal wedding that goes viral, they have to fake friendship, basically. To save American and British relations, they have to try to prove to the world that they're friends, which means it's a close proximity trope. Also means it's an enemies to lovers trope. We love to see it, or you get me. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful and funny. It's so freaking funny. Like the turkey scene. Is this a joke? Okay, so we're following that going on while Alex's mom, the President of the United States, is trying to run a re-election, and then also the Queen of England is trying to make sure that Henry is as straight passing as humanly possible. And it's so gross, but like that is how the world is. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So this affair would upend two nations, all right? So this book is asking you, what are you going to sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice for love? Is the sacrifice worth it? What is all the good that you can do? Like, how much good can you do? And most importantly, how is history going to remember you? So not only do we have a bisexual, biracial Mexican main character, and then a straight up gay main character, but we also have gay and bisexual side characters. We have trans lesbian side characters who have prominent relationships that are depicted in the book and are supported. And it's so beautiful. Like, you have the whole gamut. It's amazing. This book, I think, made me the happiest out of any book I've ever read. And I want to spread that happiness to you. Of course, I have to mention the Wayward Children series. This one is the first one, Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. This is Own Voices because the main character in this is asexual and Shauna McGuire is also asexual. I would recommend the entire series for the queer, whimsical vibes. Like, they all have it. And also, every single book, except one of them, I believe, has queer characters in it. And those are the ones that don't are the side character storylines of any of them that might be heterosexual. But this first book, you are following Nancy, who is asexual and heteromantic, and the label is stated on page. She describes it on page. She goes all through it. And these books are about doors that show up to children that lead to magical worlds that are specifically perfect for them, but the worlds are super messed up. And this really leads the way to talking about like maybe characters who are trans or are queer, and that this specific magical world will accept them. And it's so beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. And the characters are amazing. Like, this one is my favorite that I've read so far, but the fifth one, All Coming Tumbling Down, is like a second favorite. And that's another one that has a shit ton, so much representation. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, not only do we have topics of sexuality, gender, xenophobia, racism, classism, like body dysmorphia, we have every kind of representation you can imagine. There's a bunch of cultural representation. There is a bunch of different like ethnicities in this book. There's just so much, and they're only 150 pages. Like, how do you get this much representation and such a fun, interesting fantasy story in like 160 pages? Like, Shauna McGuire is a wizard. The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This is a gay horror novel. Say less, say less. You never get this kind of representation in horror, especially one done this well. Like, it's following these two queer men who are married, this couple, Eric and Andrew, and their adopted Chinese daughter, Wynn. And they go to have a little vacation in an isolated cabin in the woods. I think you can tell where this is going. Oh my God. So they're all isolated, you know, like cut off from society or whatever, until these people come out of the woods with purge-like weapons and warn them of an impending apocalypse. What? And they tell them that the only way to save the world, that they've been given visions from God, the only way to save the world is for one member of this family to kill another member of the family. So it'll be a sacrifice to God or whatever. And of course we're like, what? No. Like, the family's like, peace, like, get out of my house, bro. But they can't because these people are like holding them hostage. But then they keep turning on the news, and you're kind of seeing things and hearing these stories and hearing the news and being like, is this real? But then it could also be a coincidence. It could also be like past tape footage. Like there's all these things that are going on, and you're going to go back and forth on like what you believe and who you believe and whether they should do it, whether they should not, like what's worth it, what's not. Like it's so good. And the thing that I love about this, and the reason I'm putting it in my recommendations, is because I love that at the heart of this story is two queer men, and they are queer. It is stated like, you know, on page, they are married, it's a relationship, but the focus of the book is not them being queer. It is just two main characters. It's not like, oh, we're gay and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, we're gay. Anyway, LOL, we're trying to save the world. Like, it's so good. I'm obsessed. I know this book isn't for everyone, but if it is for you, you're never going to stop thinking about it. I know. You've all been waiting this far into the video like, Katie, where is it? Hello? The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Okay. This is queer literature. This is classic queer literature. Is it a spoiler saying that it's queer? Yes. But do you want a good recommendation or not? Okay, like it's hard to talk about this book without saying there's queer elements in it. Like it's almost impossible, all right? You're following this aging, reclusive Hollywood actress, Evelyn Hugo, who has had 7 husbands in her life, and she's finally ready to do a tell-all. So this journalist comes in and asks her the question everyone wants to know. Who was the one? Who was the love of your life? Which one of these 7 husbands was the one? So she's like, okay, I'll tell you a tale. Or 2 or 8. And you get to, like, she tells the story of all of the different marriages and why she chose to marry these men and what happened because of those decisions. And it's so beautifully written. It's told in an interview format. I highly recommend the audio. Monique, the main character who's interviewing her, there are so many twists and turns with her storyline that involve Evelyn, and Evelyn is such a beautiful character. Like, she's such a beautiful character. Getting inside her mind was so beautiful. I know that some people like don't agree with things that she does in the book. I don't care. I think she's stunning. I think she's beautiful. I think that this will make you sob your eyes out. Like, I cried so hard reading this book. I just wanted everybody to get what they deserved. I wanted people to be happy. I wanted it to have a good ending. I just loved it. And I need to see a movie about this. I need to see a movie about this so bad. The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is a series that gets gayer and gayer with each book, and there's 4 books in the series, so buckle up, okay? Because we have a bunch of main characters, there's a bunch of different POVs, and there's so much representation in this book. This is about a group of kind of misfit outcasts that all have a special ability. They're in New York, and they have to band together to stop a serial killer who is going around and killing people in New York City in a sacrificial manner and stealing their body parts. It is horror. It is horrifying, like, a bit, but it's so worth it. Like, it's so worth it. Like The Cabin at the End of the World, I'm like, we love queer, scary shit. Like, it's amazing. Like, okay. There is a main character in this book, though not fully introduced until the 2nd book, who is an Asian, homoromantic, asexual scientist. Yeah. You just heard me say that. Asian, homoromantic, asexual scientist. I love every syllable in that freaking sentence. Are you kidding me? We also have a main character who is a gay pianist, who's a cinnamon roll, who deserves to be protected at all costs. We would all take a bullet for Henry. We would take a freaking bullet for him. He's amazing. Literally gets gayer and gayer. And the thing I adore about the series so much is that there's so much representation. There's Black, Jewish, Russian, Creole representation. There is like trans representation. And these characters, like the queerness of this book never fades into the background. All of these characters get time to shine. They get to evolve. They get to have love interests. They get to become who they are and be accepted as who they are and be loved. And it's so good. And I know I've talked about this a million times, but it's one of my favorite series I've ever read. And please read it, listen to it. The audiobooks are so good. Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm shutting up. Another favorite series, 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This, like, there is a reason why this is so hyped. There is a reason why this still holds the crown as being one of the best YA fantasies of all time. The hype is real. It is so absolutely phenomenal. You have everything in this book. Like, you have witty one-liners, you have romance, you have found family, you have fantasy, you have heists, you have crime, you have everything. And the flirting in this book is top notch, top notch. There's 6 main characters, 6 of Ketterdam's most dangerous outcasts, who all have a very special skill that makes them invaluable in some way. And we have Kaz Brecker, Our daddy of Ketterdam, crime prodigy Gasbrecker, the absolute goat. And if you get that reference, thank you. He is trying to pull them all together to attempt an impossible heist. And we love a heist. We love a heist. Are you kidding me? And also, all 6 of the characters have their POVs in these books. It's a duology, and 3 out of the 6 of them are queer. What? 3 out of the 6? And honestly, to be honest, if you told me that Kaz and Inej were bisexual, I would not fight you an ounce. I would not fight you an ounce. I would be like, yeah, they are. Because like, I can believe it. So we have Jesper, who is a black, biromantic, bisexual character, and he's also hilarious and amazing. I'm obsessed with him. And then we have Wylan, who is a gay cinnamon roll. We have Nina, who is a bisexual queen who could literally flirt her way out of the 9th layer of hell. Like dead ass. She's amazing. And then also the companion series that came before this, Shadow and Bone, which I don't enjoy those books, but the Netflix adaptation of that show, or that book, is absolutely phenomenal. And half of that show is this kind of a prequel to this book, but it's a lot of characters that are in this book are in that show. And if you want a good queer recommendation for a TV show, I would say Shadow and Bone, because Jesper Fahey, that's in this book, is in that show, and he's so beautiful, and he's so funny, and like the queerness of his character is such a good representation. I'm obsessed. Listen, I know I'm not the first person to talk about this, like you've probably already read it, and you know what I mean, but if you haven't, like, give this book a shot. Then we have BookTube's Heart and Soul, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is another book that I'm here to tell you the hype is real. There is a lot of hype for it. It's completely warranted. This has a lot of similar aspects as the Wayward Children series by Shauna Maguire, but if everything was like soft and sweet and cozy and like heartwarming and beautiful, that's what it's like. So this is a very whimsical fantasy story about a guy, Linus Baker, who's our main character, who's definitely an Enneagram 6, and so am I. We love the rep, you know what I'm saying? And he has body dysmorphia, which is a part of this book I really, really loved. It touched me. It was so good. But he is in charge of checking up on magical orphanages to make sure that they're being treated properly and everything is going by the rules. So he gets tasked to go to this magical orphanage that is said to be like housing the most dangerous kids, supposedly. The guy that runs the orphanage, Arthur, is also gay and would do anything to protect his charges. Of course Arthur and Linus fall for each other. Like, where did you think I was going with this? Where did you think this sentence was about to end? Hello? Of course it's a gay love story. I mean, actually, it's not really a gay love story. It's more like the love story between 2 gay men and their 6 children. The kids in this book are so sweet, and they're all so different, and they're all so like, this is just so, it's so much about like acceptance and love, and it's hilarity. This book is so freaking funny, and it's about like childhood and innocence and changing the world, or at least trying to change the world, and like whether or not you want to keep people inside or whether you want to like try to change the world so they can go outside and be accepted. And like, it's so beautiful, and the whimsical queer vibes of this book are just like, it's so beautiful. I can't even tell you. This is like a giant gay blanket. It's just wrapped around you and you're snuggling in it. Like, I want to crawl inside this book and live forever. This last book I put at the end because I need to put a warning before it because it is a problematic author and you need to go in with your eyes wide open. This is going to be Rainbow Rowell, who wrote Eleanor and Park, which has very bad depictions of Korean and Black characters. And even though this book was written a long time ago, and this has been blowing up on the internet about how horribly stereotypical that she wrote these Black and Asian characters, she has never, ever spoken out about it. And I don't understand it. Like, I don't get it. Like, why not say anything? It's very odd. It's very strange. I need to tell you that and give you that warning because I don't know Rainbow Rowell. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth that she won't speak out on it. So take this recommendation with a grain of salt. But I did first read this book very, very long time ago before I knew anything about what was going on with Rainbow Rowell. And I'm not going to recommend that other people read a problematic author, but this is my favorite. But I mean, it's a recommendation. I'm just going to say I'm sorry. If you don't want to read this, or if you are going to be triggered by this, I fully understand if you just want to stop watching or skip past this. I completely respect that. But the last book I'm going to say is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I'm not here to tell you this is like a phenomenal book, But I love this. I love this book so much. I have listened to the audio 3 times. This is my comfort audiobook. The accents are what make this so comforting to me. I love the accents. They're like a very like kind of cheeky British accent. It's just so cute. Like I just love them. This is a companion book to another book that Rainbow Rowell wrote called Fangirl. And in Fangirl, we're following this girl named Kath as she writes a Harry Potter fan fiction that goes viral. So in her world, she's writing the 7th Harry Potter book before it comes out because she's a Draco and Harry shipper, and she knows that J.K. Jokes is not gonna let that happen in the last book. So she's writing it before the book comes out, before it ruins her dreams, you know? And we get snippets of the fan fiction in Fangirl, and this is actually a standalone novel of the fan fiction she's writing in that book. And oh my God, I love it. I love it. Like clearly they don't call it Harry Potter. Like the characters in this are called Simon and Baz, and Simon is like the most unlucky, worst chosen one that's ever been chosen. And then oh my God, also Baz, who's the Draco of this story, is a vampire. What? Like, are you kidding me? I love it. And then also, it's a close proximity trope because the Sorting Hat decides that they have to be roommates throughout their whole stay at Watford Academy. So they have to live together. So it's like an enemies to lovers. It's close proximity trope. They live like, or they sleep in beds that are like in the same room. It's good shit. Now, I'm going to tell you that I read Wayward Son last year and hated it. It was just not, there was no point. This should have been a standalone. I don't think I'm going to continue with the series because there's a 3rd book coming out. But I just needed to say that, like, I know I love this book, but I know that I really should look deeper into Rainbow Rowell and, like, reassess probably my evaluation. But as of right now, I do really love it. And I am sorry if this offended anyone. Okay, that is gonna wrap it up for my best of the best for Pride books. I hope you're all having an amazing Pride month. I really want to know if you have some suggestions. I really want them down below, especially if they have asexual representation, because that is something that hits very close to home for me, obviously, and I want to read more about. So please leave me recs about that. I also really enjoy gay love stories, obviously, as you can tell, especially if they are either very quaint or dark, like The Cabin at the End of the World, or even Every Heart a Doorway, things like that. So if you want to leave me recommendations, please do. If you want to follow me on Goodreads or Instagram, because I'm posting on there constantly, and you're going to get updates that you're not going to get on here, you can follow me on there. They will be linked down below. I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel. That would be freaking amazing. And I hope you're having an amazing day, evening, night, dusk, dawn, evening, whatever you're having. And I will see you with a video coming very soon. Bye.